This is probably one of the strangest foundations I've ever tried. So today is my end of the year wrap-up video for all the foundations I tested out in 2017. Some of these I loved, some of them not so much. If you're new here, I try to upload a new foundation wear test at least once a week. Sometimes it's every other week. I'm 43 years old with extremely dry skin, so I'm always on the lookout for foundations that don't dehydrate my skin and make me look older than I am. You can check out my foundation wear test playlist in the description box below, where I initially tried out each of these foundations for the first time. Most of these foundations I've had a few weeks to a month to play around with and try out, so I have a pretty good feel for how they work or don't work. I tried out 12 different drugstore foundations last year. 4 of them I absolutely hated, 4 sort of middle of the road, meh, okay sort of products, and 4 that are my favorite go-tos. So if you're enjoying this video while you're watching it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you don't miss anything. If you want to know my thoughts on all of these drugstore foundations that I tried out in 2017, don't go anywhere, just keep watching. So I'm going to start with the foundation that I just didn't like at all, and this is the Me Hydrate and Smooth foundation. Full disclosure, I only tried this foundation once in my first impression review, but in all honesty, that was more than enough. I had such a bad skin reaction to this one that I can't bring myself to try it again under any circumstance. So I was initially really excited about this product because it's formulated for dry skin. But there is an ingredient in this that doesn't agree with my skin at all. So I'm not one that has crazy skin reactions to foundations usually ever, but I ended up with I was all broken out all over my chin, and this is something that it's just not normal for me. If I ever have any sort of skin reaction, it's usually because of dryness. I'll usually get dry itchiness around my chin, but this was different. These were like giant pimples and sores all over my face within 8 hours of me putting this on. Also, the shade for this was completely unwearable for me. It had oxidized about 3 shades darker than I am. So if I didn't have the skin reaction to this that I did, I would possibly consider purchasing the next shade down and trying it again. But the oxidization combined with a really bad, horrible skin reaction, So while we're on the subject of Maybelline, this is my second least favorite, I guess you could say. This is the Maybelline Dream Liquid Mousse Foundation. I picked this up for $14.99 and it's available in 12 different shades. This is probably one of the strangest foundations I've ever tried. So the coverage for this one was great. It applied well, it blended well. My skin looked flawless initially, but as the day went on, this foundation just started to look progressively worse on me. So this definitely applies better with a sponge over a brush. The brush just was difficult to blend and it made my makeup look all streaky and weird. The color initially was a good match for me, but it oxidized so badly throughout the day, and a really weird oxidization. It oxidized into this strange yellow color is the only way to describe it. I mean, it looked like I had jaundice. That's how yellow my face looked. It was completely unwearable. As the day went on, it also started to cause really bad dryness around my chin and became super itchy. It was so uncomfortably itchy. By the end of the day, I couldn't wait to wash it off. So the next foundation that just didn't work out very well for me is the CoverGirl Vitalist Elixir foundation. This foundation is $14.99 and it's available in 14 different shades, and it also has an SPF of 20 in it. So I'm reading off their website. On the website, it claims to be a vitamin-infused formula with special antioxidant and vitamin complex. Finally, a hydrating formula with beautiful buildable coverage that glides on smoothly for a flawless look. This special antioxidant and vitamin complex plus SPF work together to make your skin look healthy all day. So, as I said earlier, I have dry skin. And this is being marketed as a hydrating foundation, so you would think it would work for me. But it just looked off on me. That's the only way to describe it. It was really difficult to blend. It looked blotchy all over my face. I don't really have a lot of texture except for like the odd dry patch along my chin that pops up. But I saw texture everywhere. And the strangest thing is I have tiny pores, and it left this weird polka dot pore thing all over my cheeks, which again, I have small pores, so if it had that effect on me, imagine what it would look like on somebody with larger pores. So I've tried this with a brush, I've tried this with a sponge, I've tried this with different moisturizers and primers, and it just always looked horrible on my skin. This was also a foundation that I could feel on my skin all day long. It had this dry itchiness feeling on me, and I couldn't wait to wash it off when I got home. Plus, this is also another one that oxidized badly. To me, when a foundation oxidizes and leaves you orange, it's not a wearable foundation. So also, just to note, this one also has a very floral, perfumey scent to it, which is a little odd to me. I can't imagine anyone wanting their foundation reeking of flowers. So this is the Revlon Youth Effects Fill and Blur Foundation. This one is on the expensive side for a drugstore foundation. It was $17.99 and it's available in 12 different shades, and it also has an SPF of 20 in it. So this is sort of a whipped, moussey, textured foundation. I really didn't have any problems with it initially. So the shade match was good. I didn't have any weird skin reactions or anything like that, but this one is not good for dry skin. It's called Fill and Blur, so it's supposed to blur things like fine lines and texture. I found that it amplified it. The area around my eyes caked up horribly. There is something in this that didn't agree with my concealer, and I ended up with crusty dryness all around my eyes. I even tried applying my concealer before applying the foundation, and I still had the same reaction. So I don't have a lot of texture on my face, but this totally magnified what little I had. I found this to be super streaky when I applied it with a brush. So because this is a whipped moussey formula, I didn't find that it applied well with the sponge at all. This enhanced all the fine lines around my eyes and clung to dry patches on my chin, and besides that, it is so overpriced. So the next 4 foundations I'm going to talk about are pretty good. They're just not my favorite. This is the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation. It's $6 and it's available in 12 different shades, I believe. So this is an oil-free formula with an SPF of 15. Most of the time they don't have a very wide shade range available in the stores for this foundation, but all shades can be found on the e.l.f. website. So overall, I was pretty pleased with this formula. It's very lightweight. It comes with this cute little pump. I like the packaging considering, I mean, this is only $6. This one, for the most part, pleasantly surprised me. It didn't settle into any fine lines. The finish of it was beautiful. It applied evenly for me. It worked well with both a sponge and a brush. So the finish of this one was really nice. It's not matte, but it's definitely not dewy. It's kind of somewhere in the middle with a bit, it has more of a satin sheen to it, if that makes sense. The only bad thing I have to say about this is I find whenever a foundation has an SPF built into it, it's almost a guarantee for me that it will oxidize. The strange thing about this one is the way it oxidized on me. It didn't turn me orange, it just made me look like I had too much bronzer on my face. So if you're thinking about trying this foundation, I would definitely choose a shade lighter than you normally would gravitate to. The next sort of middle of the road foundation is the Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation. So this foundation comes in 20 different shades and it is $6.99. The claims of this foundation is it's a full coverage foundation, there's no photo flashback. I don't agree. This is not a full coverage foundation. This is a solid medium. I will agree though, there is no flashback with this foundation. So the packaging for this is a little different. It comes with this paddle, which is a little different. I guess it's a step up from just a straight pour bottle. It probably would have pushed the price up a little bit to include a pump, but I mean, e.l.f. was able to include a pump and their foundation is only $6, so like I said earlier, the coverage for this is medium. So here's the thing. I like how my skin looks with this foundation for probably the first half of the day, but the second half, I find my chin gets worn down and my nose. And lately I find that I haven't been wanting to reach for this foundation. So for $5.99, it's a pretty good budget option, but when I run out of it, I probably won't be buying it again. So my next middle of the road foundation is the Ordinary Coverage Foundation. It's $6.90 and it's available in 21 shades. It's also alcohol-free, vegan, cruelty-free, nut-free, gluten-free, and I think I got all of them. So I have it in the shade 1.1, which I know for me it looks really light, but this one does oxidize significantly darker, so just be aware of that if you decide to try this one. So this one was insanely hyped up online. I know they ran out of it. There was a waiting list for it with like 30,000 people. It took them 3 months to restock. They were clearly having some problems. But I was able to finally get my hands on this one. So this claims to be a full coverage foundation and it says it has a semi-matte finish to it. I would disagree with that. It is definitely more of a satin finish and it is not full coverage. So the coverage for this was more medium than anything. It was also very liquidy, but I had no problem building up the areas where I need a little bit extra help, like the top of my cheeks and my forehead. So this one actually worked out okay for me. It looked a little chalky at first, but I didn't have any issues with it settling into fine lines. It didn't crease on me, so it didn't dehydrate my skin. Overall, it was a very comfortable foundation to wear. My only real issue with this is it's just not very long wearing. Towards the end of the day, my nose had completely worn away. So I like this one, I just didn't love it. This is the NYX Total Control Drop Foundation. It is very expensive for a drugstore foundation. This is $15.99, but they only give you half a bottle of what a standard bottle of foundation is. So it's closer to high-end prices when you factor in how much product they give you per half ounce. This is also a matte foundation, and normally I have issues wearing matte foundations because my skin is so dry. I find that matte foundations just cling to every little dry patch on my face, but I friggin' love how this looks on me. So I really did not want to like this, and I'm still not happy about the price. It blends out so well on my skin. It doesn't settle into fine lines. It doesn't highlight any texture or dry patches. It's just freaking expensive for a drugstore foundation. So the marketing for this one is also a little confusing. On the website, it says 2 drops is light coverage, 3 drops is medium coverage, 4 is full coverage. 4 individual drops from this dropper is not full coverage. Maybe 4 full droppers is full coverage, but that would make you go through product very, very quickly. So when you factor in the price of this is already super high end for drugstore, even though I loved how this looked on me, I don't know if I'll be buying it again. I want to say I wouldn't buy it again, but we'll see. So we're moving into my top 4 favorite foundations. This is the Rimmel Match Perfection Foundation. So this foundation is only $8.99, but unfortunately is only available in 7 different shades. So reading the claims off the website, this claims to be a long wear hydrating foundation that lasts for 24 hours. And at first I was like, really? I was really skeptical about this because whenever companies make claims like that, I'm like, how do you know? How do you really know? And also the first time I tried out this foundation, I wasn't that excited to try it out because it was a crazy hot heat wave day. I will link that video up there in the iCard if you'd like to watch it and check it out. But it was a super hot heat wave type of day. I was not in the mood to wear foundation at all, but decided to suck it up and do a wear test. This was a pleasant surprise for me. So I was sweating like all day when I tried this out. I didn't set it with a powder. It didn't cake. This stuff did not move. It wore off a little bit on my nose, but overall at the end of the day, it looked good. I was pleasantly surprised by this. So during the summer, this quickly became my favorite brand to wear. I just wish Rimmel would expand their shade range because the quality of their foundation is excellent, especially for the price point. So this applied well with both a sponge and a brush, although I just prefer the sponge for this. It just made my skin look flawless. So the coverage for this is medium but buildable without looking cakey. However, on most days I don't want full coverage. I just want my skin tone evened out a bit. So next up on my top 4 is the L'Oreal Total Cover Foundation. This is available in 12 different shades and is $13.99. This one is a little different than most of these other foundations. This one is best applied with a brush, and it is a very full coverage matte foundation. This one definitely surprised me, but in a good way, because as soon as I saw it full coverage matte, I thought there's just no way this is gonna work for me. Strangely enough though, this one is one of my favorites. It makes my skin look freaking flawless when I use it. The very first time I tried it, I was blown away. Like, my skin looked like porcelain. There was no fine lines, texture, dry patches, any of it. It was just like skin. It was just the strangest thing for me, because there was no way I thought that a whipped, moussey, dry, textured formula would work on my over 40 dry skin. This one is also a very comfortable foundation to wear. There are times when I'm wearing it that I even forget I'm wearing foundation at all. So this is definitely one of my go-tos for when I just need a little bit of extra coverage. So my second favorite is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. Hello. Door, where are you? Honey, nobody wants to see that. All right, so we're having a moment here. This is... Door, are you kidding? Okay, so... Alright, so this is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. It's available in 12 different shades and it's $14.99. So this is formulated for normal to dry skin and is a hydrating foundation with a radiant finish. There is definitely a glowy sheen to this foundation. So this is not full coverage. It's probably a solid medium at best, but I'm okay with that because this just evens out my skin so beautifully and has a really pretty sheen to it. It definitely does oxidize, so it's just something to be aware of, but it doesn't turn orange. It just darkens a shade. So that's just something to be aware of. So I've tried this with both a brush and a sponge, and both apply beautifully and evenly. So I only need one application of this product for decent medium coverage, and then I just touch up the places that I need a little bit of extra help, where I have a bit of hyperpigmentation. All of my powders, blushers, bronzers apply perfectly on top of this foundation. So this doesn't cling to any dry patches at all. The finish is very dewy, and in fluorescent lighting it can almost look a little greasy, but in natural light it looks amazing. The only downfall to this foundation is that it never 100% completely dries down. It does transfer easily, so that's just something you really need to be aware of. So my absolute favorite foundation that I tried out this year from the drugstore, and you can kind of tell how much I've used it because like the bottle is absolutely disgusting. This is the Revlon Colorstay Makeup for normal to dry skin. This is available in 12 different shades and is $15.99. So this is a foundation that when I first tried it, I liked it. I wasn't wowed by it, but over time, this has become one of my favorite go-to foundations. So this is pretty much my only foundation that I can go to where I just throw it on my face, get out the door as quickly as possible. I don't need a primer, I don't need a moisturizer, and more importantly, I don't need to worry about this dehydrating my skin. So I have this in the shade Buff, which is the third to lightest shade available in the line. This is probably the best shade match for me out of all of my foundations. I don't need to mix this to adjust the shade, and I just love the finish of this one. So this is a solid medium coverage, but it is buildable if you have problem areas like I do. I have a teeny bit of melasma on my forehead and my cheeks. So this is one of my favorites. It's glowy, but not too glowy. It doesn't cake up and look weird on my face. It lasts all day on me without a setting powder. It's very, very comfortable. It just has a really nice glow to it. It doesn't look glittery or shimmery or anything like that. So that is my list of best and worst foundations that I tried in 2017. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any foundations that you want me to try out in 2018, let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this style of video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell over here before you leave. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!